Good morning. Most of you all know me. I'm Tim. We're in Tucson, Arizona, and this friggin' week is just getting absurd. It's about 116, 115. Down here in Tucson, and Phoenix is about 120. So, rule one, when you guys are out there, be sure that you're hydrated. It doesn't really matter if it's in the winter or in the summer. Just be sure you're hydrated constantly. If you start getting headaches, feeling faint, getting cramps, you're in trouble. All right, it's too late. So, and be sure, you know, it's a real safety factor because you're working up there and may be by yourself or you may not be. But pay close attention to that while you're here. Okay, what we're going to do is talk about measuring and marking and layout tools. I have a couple videos that you need to watch to fully understand your lab exercise here. I walk you through one, laying out a rafter using one technique. Then I have a couple other videos from YouTube that show different methods. They all work. What makes you happy is fine. Now, people will say, well, you can't make rafters anymore. That's almost true. In the state of Arizona, if the building is less than 200 square feet, you can. But they still have to be designed, you know, to operate functionally. You can't have big gaps and, you know, things going all over the place. So these tools are going to show you how to do that job. All right. Everybody has a different method of doing it. I'm just going to show you how there's several different methods doing it, and then you can choose whichever way you want to do it. Now, in the lab exercise, because I want to be sure that you understand all the equipment, you're going to use all this eventually. May it be in laying out stairs, or laying out rafters, laying out stud walls. All these tools can be used for the same thing. Us older guys, we used the old tools. Now they got this tool, and we'll go into that in detail and explain to you how to use those things. All right? Now the very first thing, let's just talk about the different tools. All right? Here, they call it a speed square. All right? You have a straight edge. Now again, you know, how you take care of your tools will determine on how well they work. You start throwing this stuff around off the building and into the back of the truck, you're going to have issues. All right? And contractors don't want to sit there and watch you throw a bunch of timber off their building because you can't get it straight line. So, your straight edge, you can always check that with another straight edge. All right. Here you got a scale for 6 inches. Now, of course, this is just, you know, a quickie, but if you don't have your tape measure, it'll help out. You see this word pivot, that's a pivot point that's going to come into play here. All right? That pivot point is going to play a major part when you're figuring out rafters. Let's go down here. You see there's a little inside scale here. Those are broken off in 1/4 inches. And I'll show you how to do that, how to use it. Here you got 2.5 inches. All right. You can use this as a guide tool. It's pretty helpful. Excuse me. We have top cuts. All right. And this is your hip and valley rafters, which you're not going to do right now, but you do understand that this is the scale that you're going to be using eventually. Then we have the normal common rafter. Now hopefully you understand what the common rafter is versus a hip or a valley. All right? You're going to use this scale down here most of the time. Then down here you have your degrees from 0 to 90. All right? And there's quick methods of using this as well. All right? So let's let me get a board, and we're going to discuss how to use some of this stuff, right? Real quick. All right, so, you know, you're going to have your bag, and your bag should have carpenter's pencil with a sharp tip on it, all right? You're going to have your utility knife that you can use to sharpen this, or if you like to carry around one of the pencil sharpeners, that works well too. But for simplicity right now, I just want you to understand how to use this. All right, remember this is supposed to be the square edge. So just get across, understand, and strike a line. All right, nothing drastic. All right, put that up against that line again and work the 45. All right, that's two quick methods of using this thing. Now, remember I told you that there's a scale here that's 2.5 inches, and then there's a scale over here broken into quarters. So now we want to make a 2-inch line down our board. Now, some people are very knowledgeable being able to do this. Okay? I'm not that talented. All right? But some people can put their mark on there and just run it right down the board. I don't have that talent. Every time I try to do it, I get nothing but splinters in my hand. All right? So, we take our trusty speed square and we want to make a 2-inch line. If you go up your 6-inch scale here, you'll find 2. Bring it over and you'll see where there's a little notch right there. If you just take that, put your pencil in it, and just draw it right straight down. All right? You're not going to have an issue. Of course, the sharper the pencil, the easier it can get in there. All right? But that's one way of doing it. Now, we talk about the common rafter. Well, this scale here, the scale on this down here, these numbers represent the pitch. All right? And they'll go into more detail on that as well as I will. All right? But we're just saying that's 3, 4, 6, and 8 are pretty common. All right? But how do you use it? Well, if you come down here and you're going to put, you want to figure out off your drawings, it'll say 312 pitch. Okay. What is 312 pitch? Well, if you looking at this scale and you have your straight edge on the board, and you rotate that at that pivot point, right there, okay, is on the edge of the board. You draw your line. Now, this is your first cut that we'll be talking about, the plumb cut, all right? And this is going to go up against a ridge board, all right? So there's a little bit more detail in it, but just understand how to find that pitch, all right? How to understand and get that pitch. Now that's 3. Okay, we'll just Put 3 here. Move down a little bit more. Here's a 5. Move down, and here's an 8. Now, you notice how 3, 5, and 8. You notice how they get steeper, because if you comprehend this, you're going to turn that as it goes steeper. Okay? Normally in Arizona, and maybe in some other places, 3 to 4 is your most common use, because we don't have the snowfall, we don't have the ice dams building up. Back in the Midwest, East Coast, you see all the high pitches, A-frames, all right, real heavy snow, it just slides right off, hopefully. If not, you will have somebody visiting you. Mother Nature at its best. So that's how you use this puppy, okay? So it's a very good all-around tool to have as a beginning carpenter, all right? So, enough said on that. So, first of all, you need to know your tool, all right? Understand all this information is in your book, and if not, just Google it, all right? But every square is different, because it depends on the manufacturer, what they thought was important, and times change. If you go find an old rusted one, you'll look on it, some of it will be the same, other things will be changed, right? So, excuse me. So what you want to do is look at different carpenter squares, framing squares, all right? So let's look at this. This portion of it is 1.5 inches, the same size that a 2x6 or 2x8, whatever 2x4 is. This is considered to be called the tongue, all right? So you got the tongue, which is at 1.5 inches. Then you've got the heel, which is right here. Then down here you have the blade, all right? Now, there's a bunch of numbers on this, and most people don't understand how to use it. My suggestion is, if you really want to get into this, there's some really great videos on YouTube from people that have done nothing but use this, all right? But just like everything else, it's a preference. But here in the classroom, we want you to practice on different things, all right? So let's discuss this. Here's our pivot hole again, all right? This is just to hang it. That's no special hole, so be aware of that. All these tools have a tendency of being broken down into 8ths, 16ths, 10ths, 12ths. Some even get broken down into 100ths, which has a little scale right in here, which just does not. All right, and that kind of helps out when you're dealing with fractions. But again, I'm not going to go into detail on that. But you can, and a lot of people, and this is sad, a lot of people cannot read a tape measure. And the reason I say that, most of the new tape measures that are out there all have the numbers on it, all right? Which is okay, but if you don't understand what 1/8 of an inch is versus 5/8 of an inch, you could cause yourself to have a lot of problems, all right? This is fine, but if this breaks and you grab somebody else's tape measure and it doesn't have it broken down, then you're going to look like a real idiot, okay? So please take in mind to understand how to read a tape measure, all right? Because without knowing how and understanding how to read the tape measure, you're just going to ask for help, all right? you're just asking for a bad outcome, let's say. All right. Okay, so we got all these different measurements. Now, the tongue is normally 16 inches. And what's at 16 inches? Studs, typically. All right. Rafters. Joists. All right. They can either be 16 or on the blade 24. It all depends on the makeup. All right. So here's something that people don't really understand, but you're going to learn how to use it. Okay, is let's say you're getting on a construction site and you need to make octagons. Who knows what for? Maybe a window. All right. Maybe columns and stuff like that. You know, specialty stuff. Well, instead of trying to punch it into the computer and on your phone and everything, it's right here for you. All right. Now, hopefully you can see this. This starts off at 24 and 24, 33.94 inches. All right. Now, this is what they call a brace scale. All right. A brace scale is just that. It's designed for making braces, but at the same time, you can make octagons. And let me show you something here. We want to make a brace. Now let's just say, for argument's sake, okay? We're out here building something, I don't know. And we need to put a brace in here. Now, if you look at your scale, and we'll just take something simple here, okay? 30 inches, all right? 30 and 30, because you got to make a right angle, right? So that's why these numbers are all the same as far as the A and B, let's say. So from here to here, it's 30 inches, all right? From here to here, it's 30 inches, all right? So you mark that off. Now, remember you're talking right angles here, right? So you're talking about the inside measurement here. That's why you see where it's where I put my lines. Now, the 30 inches wide and the 30 inches long. You can say A or B on this, it doesn't matter. This is the Paragon theory, all right? But with this, you're going to find this distance right here inside using the scale on the tongue. So if we turn this and I show you 30-30, that's going to give you 42.43 inches. Okay? Now what in God's name is 0.43 inches? Well, there's several ways of doing that. Most of you probably just whip it out on your calculator. That's great. But that's how you go about using that portion of the square. So you got the 30 inches marked off on both sides, and from the outside here to the outside here of this measurement is your 42.43 plus a quarter inch, all right? Because nothing is ever square. And this isn't woodworking, this is carpentry. But once you get used to it, you'll understand that you may not need this quarter inch, all right? Now, don't be in such a rush that you don't take your speed square or a straight edge or your carpenter square and check that before you go nail it, all right? You may have to shift it a little bit, 1/8 of an inch or so, all right? Convert that, mark your board, cut it, put 245s on there, and slide it up there, and you should be squared. So you're going to be using this scale to build a little 2x4 exercise on it. All right, you're going to probably use as much scrap as possible. All right, because it's got to be at least, we may break it down to either something smaller, but one of these scales you're going to be using. Okay? All right. Now here's a little thing that you may not realize, and it helps you, because you know, us older guys, you could build a whole house using just this and a pencil. You never need anything else. All right? That was the beauty about it. All right? But now, you know, times are changing. We need to bring that up to par for you. Okay, so down here at the very, very end, all right, you may find this type of scale. Well, this has both decimals and the fractions. So you don't have to use your calculator, you don't have to use your phone, you know. And remember, this is rough carpentry. This isn't fine finished carpentry. So when I see, let's say what we were working on, 3030, it was 42.43. Okay, 43. I come up here, it's 0.43. I don't know what 0.43 is. Well, there it is right there, 0.437. That's a thousandths. It doesn't matter. Your blade is going to take care of that. So it's 7/16 of an inch. Right? Now, eventually, you will more than likely memorize most of them. All right? But if you have a brain fart, all right, just use your tool. All right? It's right there. Now, let's talk about inches into feet. All right? Now, we're just reversing the role basically here. 1/8 of an inch is 0.1. So, if you're using it in tenths, all right, measuring things out in tenths, then this would be a really good scale for you to use. All right, it goes from 1/8 of an inch to 12 inches. Okay, so understand how to use this. All right, then over on this side, and you know, not every company makes them the same, but just be aware of all the different scales on here. You're going to be using this one, and this scale goes from 0 to 65. All right, and that's 65 inches. It really doesn't need to be inches. It could be centimeters. It could be anything. All right, but we're using it as 65 inches. Now, what do you use this for? This is for the octagon making process. Okay. This is different than using the scale to find your bracing. This is the brace scale. All right. This is the Octagon Scale. We're going to show you how to use that. Remember, this is representing 65 inches. So what you do, and I'm going to show you a little trick here. Remember, you can build a house using this. All right. Now, in our example, and what you're going to end up doing out in the lab is you're going to have a piece of OSB. All right. You're either going to have it cut 12 to 12 inches, or you're going to have to cut it to 12 by 12. All right, and use the compound miter saw. All right. So let's look at this. What you need to do to make an octagon out of this is first find a center point. If I don't hurt myself with this thing first. Be sure you have it in the center. Okay. come across. Knowing that that's my center, all right? But I also have to have horizontal and vertical lines. Now, I know that this is 12 inches because I already measured it, all right? Put my little mark up here. My little mark up here. Flip it over. Use my tongue. And what I want to do is just square it up on the bottom line here. Bring it over. Draw my other line. Now, of course, you can only do this as if everything is square, okay? So now, all you need is this little compass. We'll try to do this upside down here. Now, our board is 12 by 12. So, again, as I told you, these are in inches. So, if it's 12 inches, then you mark off 12. 5, 10, 11, 12. Let me show you this again here. We have 0, then we have 5 inches, 10 inches, 11, 12. All right? What you do is you set your protractor or your compass down here on 0. All right? Then drop it down until it hits the 12-inch mark. All right? Now I preset this, but you know, you can use a compass or dividers. The difference between a compass and a divider, compass has a pencil, dividers are just steel legs like this. All right? So now we know what we got. So we come up here to the top and we just gently make a mark. All right? We flip it over, make another mark. We're going to follow this all the way around. All right? You don't have to be, you know, a major art designer. Now, what you want to do is you want to connect all the lines to all the corners, all right? Because that really helps you out. But what I want to show you is now I can connect the dots, all right? And I'm only doing a portion of this, but you're going to have to do the whole thing. All right? Now, if you notice, an octagon's a stop sign, folks. Okay? So, from here to here, from here to here, here to here, here to here, and all the way around. Then you're going to cut off the corners. All right? That, what is going to be needed for you to pass that portion is lay it out just like I did, full lines all the way across, all right, so that we can see how you're coming along doing this. All right, we're going to look at your center point. We're going to look at be sure that all the corners are lined up correctly. The thing with this is some people have a tendency of using tools like they're all made of concrete or something. They're constant steel. Don't throw these around. Lay them down. Put the caps back on. All right? And be careful that you don't stab yourself. All right? So that's how you're going to use the Octagon Scale. All right. Now we're going to be discussing this scale over here. All right. Now at the end, you'll see a bunch of wording, and you may be able to read it or not. But the very first thing is a common rafter length per foot of run. Now I'm not going into how to find that out because I'll bore you to death, because on the next video you're going to find out. All right, but remember that these numbers here on the top are for a common rafter only. And if I say that my pitch is 412, then 4, I drop down and it's 12.65 linear foot put per 4 inches of rise. All right. So what I'm saying is, if you had a 6-inch rise, it'd be 13 feet or 13 inches, 0.42. 13.42 inches. Now remember, what is 4.42? Uh-oh, where is it? Oh, I can come over here and I can look on my trusty scale and get pretty damn close to it. All right. The next thing I want to show you is how to use these little things. Those little things are called stair gauges. All right, you're going to be using them. If you haven't already, I can't remember if the stair right up comes first or not. So you already know, hopefully, how to use these things. I want a 412 pitch. I come down here, I line that up with my 4. I line this one up with my 12, and there's my 412 pitch all the time. It'll always come out the same way. All right. They're going to talk to you about the different pitches. You're going to have to resolve a situation out back here on how to find your slope. But it's pretty damn simple when you stop and think about this whole thing, the whole process. All right, you're going to be doing it on 2x6s. The video shows 2x4 on mine and some 2x6s on somebody else's. But understand, the process is still the same. You can go really deep into this, all right? But we don't want to do that, all right? What we do want is you to understand how to use the rafter square to do several different things, all right? So leave yourself enough time, because you're going to end up, remember, doing the brace, the octagon, solving issues for the length of a rafter, cutting out bird's mouth, and actually making a rafter and checking it against our preset calculations. All right, so it probably will take you close to 3 hours to do that. Now that doesn't mean you have to do all of it at one time, but it is your responsibility to ensure that you accomplish all of those tasks. All right. Oh, and one more little nice to know thing is that you can always use this square once you get your the talent moving in the right direction. Once this is secured, I can easily, let's just say, for argument's sake, there's my line and I got to cut it off on this side. All right, what most carpenters will do is they make the line, but if they really want to make it accurate, they bring over their saw, and wherever their line sets up, all right, then they just push this right along, and you'll see that if I have this locked in tight, I don't have to put it on a vise. Remember, the saw is going to cut, but it just gives me a straight edge to follow right along. Now, as we've discussed before, the little notches in the saws are all different. They all do a specific thing. But, you know, if this is secured down, and I know my saw, which you should, all right? And I know where to put it to cut the best blade. I just put it right here, my fingers out of the way, and just cut it right straight through, all right? There's none of this, well, I'll check this out. Once you get it set up, you know exactly where that's going to go, all right? Big thing, just safety, all right? Keep your fingers away from, you still got to support this and hold it, but you don't have to sit there and wobble around. But get it set up, and then be sure that everything works on the saw and the depth of that blade, so you don't accidentally cut something off. All right? I only know how to tie a tourniquet at the neck, so please ensure that that works out. All right? So those are a few quick, brief discussions on it. As you go through this, you're going to understand more of what's being asked of you. All right? They're going to go into more detail with it, and they're going to show you stuff like what they call a step-off method. They're going to show you how to do it with a carpenter square, speed square. I'll show you how to do it with the mathematical method. And you know, how you want to do it is totally up to you, but we have it step by step laid out for you in the way that I show you. I just want to make it a little bit more interesting and understandable for you, so I give you different methods of doing it. All right, so take good notes, and you can come down and view this equipment anytime you want, because for most of you, you've already used some of this stuff. All right, so just take the time, come in, get your tools, you know where they're located, get your tool, bring it in here where it's cool, and play around with it. All right, because the more you know and the more you can impress people out there, the better quality of carpenter you're going to be, as well as working your way up the ladder. All right, we all know you start off by pounding nails, or if you're really unfortunate, carrying all the lumber. All right, but as you progress, you go whip out your speed square, and you show your boss, hey, this is how you do this, you know, and you know exactly how to use all the parts of the tool. Well, he's going to sit there and stand back, because most people use this stuff as a straight edge, and that's all they do, when it has so many other options for you. All right, now, as I said before, most rafters, remember, rafters go at angles, joists go straight. All right, horizontal, and then you got your angles. So make sure that you fully understand that. Practice as many times as you need to, but whenever you're done with a project, you need to, you know, put your name on it, or if there's an instructor here that knows what's going on with that project, get him to look at it and then sign off and cut it up so that we can reuse it for other objects. All right, I think that will cover it, and you can continue on. And if you ever have any questions, all of our instructors know how to use these things, all right, in detail. Let us know, and we will help you out. Now, one little trick, you know, you ask yourself, how do I know if my things are square or not? Well, we'll go back to my one piece. And I'm telling you, I've taken these right off the shelf, and they're not even square nearly by what you want. Okay? So, what you can do is, I know that my straight edge is up here on this, all right? So you take it, unwrap it, and you just want to check it. Be sure that everything is square and lined up, all right? You drew a line. What you need to do now is flip this over and line it up just like you did on the top or on the other side. Bring your lines together and redraw. All right? Now you see that fine. Now I'm going to tell you, use a sharp pencil, but there is a fine difference in that. All right? And more than likely, that's probably human caused. But if you have a real sharp pencil point, that's what you want to use. And understand that what you're trying to do is see if this is square. If it is not, there's a way of doing this if it's either aluminum or steel. All right? And what you do, and I don't want you to do that with our equipment, but if your equipment, you know, you find your grandfather's scale, or you buy a new one, you want to check it out. Because over a short distance, it's not going to affect anything. Over a long distance, you will see a difference. You see this hole, this pivot hole? All right? That's been there, and the reason for it is an expansion and retraction hole, really. That's what it's designed for. All right? But from here to here, depending on is it bowed out or bowed in, all right? You're going to make 3 little indentations here. And what you're going to do is you can draw yourself a straight line, and this is a pressure punch, all right, meaning that I push down on it and then it indents, all right? You can use a prick punch, all right, or even some people use a nail, but you know. But put three dots in there, all right, mark them. Now you take your ball peen hammer and your center punch, which you should know already, and depending on is it got to come in or go out is where you're going to start. So if I want this to come in this way, I got to start up here in this corner, all right, because it's going to fan that out. You see what I'm talking about? If I have to bring it out, I want to start closer to my circle. Now you don't have to whack it so that the ball peen hammer and the center punch drives a big, you're going to have some problems, all right? But do a little bit at a time. If you have some old tools, play with it. You know, these things cost about 15 bucks brand new. But, you know, some people are just thrifty. And you really want your tools to be taken care of, all right? So, if I wanted to spread it out, I start from my center hole out. If I want to bring it in, I can start back here, and because it's aluminum, it works much easier than steel. Steel, you're going to have to put a little oomph behind it. Aluminum, just tap on it, all right? And then, of course, go back and with another complete line, just redo it again. All right, flip it over, check it out, make sure that it works. That's the same thing for this rule of thumb, but unfortunately this you can't hit with the hammer. All right, well you can, but it won't be square anymore. All right, so that's why you got to take care of your tools. And there's a lot of different tools out there that'll help you make the job much easier. And if you really want to get impressive on this, the book that comes with it, it's like most people, you know, oh, I bought this brand new washer and dryer. Oh, I don't need these books. I just plug it into the wall. Well, okay. You know where that's going to end up eventually. All right, so read the book. All right, and if you have any questions, or if you're looking at buying tools and stuff like that, come talk to us. For the homeowner, Lowe's, Home Depot. If you want to beat somebody with this, Harbor Freight will help you out. But the other factor is we have contacts that if you're really interested in paying good money for it, you get a solid tool. All right? I hope you're going to have an interesting time doing this, and hopefully what we teach you here you can use out in the real world, and let us know. All right? Appreciate you spending time with us, and hope we'll see you out there in the backyard working. All right? Thank you.